Hey, friend.
Hey, friend.
We are back for another episode of the Justice Podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. Stop what you're doing right now. Not you, friend. I'm sorry. It's a little aggressive. Everybody else, stop. Like the video. You're going to love the episode. Subscribe to our channel. Okay, thank you. Let's keep it moving.
Okay, icebreaker. What's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you?
It has to be that time.
She didn't even...
Because I know it, girl. It lives rent-free in my head. That time I was probably around 6 or 7 years old. We were at the MLK Day in Bartow on the east side. Shout out to the rec. We were at the rec and a pastor was giving a prayer. And it was probably about 50, 75 people there. And I must have had something really toxic to eat that day because I let out the biggest fart.
That is embarrassing.
Of my life. And I didn't even know where it came. I was shocked to my core and horrifically embarrassed because everybody was trying to like. What about you?
Okay, I have two. One, on the first time I met Josh's parents, I spilled an entire bottle of red wine on Howard. I was so nervous.
I'd be so embarrassed. I would be so embarrassed.
So the second time we were meeting, he sent me an email that said something like, "Don't forget to steady your hand."
Did that make you feel better or worse?
Better, I think. Okay. The other was like in middle school where I was invited to a party, a co-ed party, which didn't happen that much.
Okay.
And I ran into a screen door. Trying to get to something. I don't know. And everyone saw it and I like fell back and the screen popped off. That lives rent free.
Oh, friend. I'm sorry, but you know what? It made us stronger people. It made us stronger people because of it.
Okay, so embarrassing things happen to all of us.
Happen to all of us. And like, who wants to be the person that goes through life and has like a flawless life and, you know, the coolest person in the bunch? Like, you got to have those quips and those moments. So do some embarrassing shit today, people. Thank us later.
You know how people are like, every day you should do something that scares you, which I've never agreed about. What if it was like every day you do something that embarrasses you?
Embarrasses the shit out of you. Like that time I took a tumble outside of Saks.
Wait,
girl,
what?
I was falling for 5 minutes. Like, I was just like, can I fall already? Like, it was like I had on a pair of boots that I never wore. And I'm just, you know, prancing outside of Saks and Bethesda. And I promise you, right as I began to fall, a car pulled up with a man and a woman. They rolled down the windows and they watched me fall like the Matrix. I was like, help me, ho. Like, don't you see?
Were you
Where's
injured?
Justice.
Were you injured?
No, I was fine. My ego was a little bruised. I literally fell for a good 3 minutes.
Oh, awful.
Don't hurt yourself, so.
Okay, so what's our episode about today?
It is being a recovering people pleaser. This title actually reminds me of this song that Erykah Badu has where she goes, I'm a recovering overcover. I'm a recovering undercover over lover, recovering from a lover I can't get over.
Whoa.
Bars. So what does it mean to recover from being a people pleaser? And are we keeping the peace? Or are we just people pleasing? Because there is a difference. And maybe those moments are negotiated on a daily basis for some of us. So the big question I think that has to enter the room that we should ask ourselves, why do we care? Why do we care what people think? Which is, I think, the undercurrent of people pleasing.
I think we've been socialized. I mean, part of it is just survival, right? So you had to be liked to survive as a human or maybe not like liked, but like welcomed into a group of people. Right.
Of course.
And then I think much of it is socialization. We are from a very young age taught to please our parents, our elders, people in our lives. And I think it just goes from there.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think that is very true. I think it is part of the human experience to have opinions about others and to some degree take those opinions to heart and how we are perceived. And also to be during certain phases of my life, I've been hyper aware of what other people think of me. Not as much anymore. Thank God I've been delivered. Because that is a miserable existence, right? Being aware or thinking that you're aware of how other people see you is just, it drives paranoia and it's not a healthy space to be in my opinion. Especially if you know you're doing the work to be kind and to be loving to others. But I think outside of just the natural human tendency towards that, I do agree with you around socialization and that it feels like, especially as female bodied people, we're taught to care a lot about the opinions of others. And like, my question is, where does that come from for us? Because some of the most confident people I have known through my life have been men for sure, at least performatively so.
I agree with that. Um, I don't know. I mean, I think about this a lot, right? In terms of a lot of my relationships, but particularly with parenting, because I've tried really hard for my kids not to feel responsible for my well-being. Um, and like, it's not their job. I'm their mother. They don't have to take care of me. I mean, maybe when I'm old they'll have to, but
Yeah.
right now they don't. And um but then when they don't care or they're not doing things just to please me, I feel a certain way. And like, that's me unlearning some of the patterns that I grew up with.
What do you mean by that?
Like, I'm like, oh, like, I've like raised them to be independent and not doing things just for my affirmation.
Sure.
Or like, I want them to follow their own path. I want them to have their own friends, their own community, be independent. And then they do those things and I'm like, oh, they don't love me. Which is so dumb, right? Like, that's really self-defeating, but
Yeah.
because the way I internalized loving someone was always making them happy.
Come on. Because in that other episode, you talked about learning that perfection spirit as well and not wanting to disappoint. So now it's coming full circle. Yeah.
What about you?
I think it's connected. I think, though, for me, my people pleasing comes from a very shaky attachment style young, and learning that love has to be interpreted by the validation of others and the making others happy and the always showing up, always being there, never disappointing, right?
So
If I don't do those things, then I must not be worthy of love or receive the love.
So for those of our listeners or viewers, how would you define attachment style? Because I think that's another word that's thrown around a lot.
Yes,
and people might not know what that means.
Yeah. So we have an episode, either go back and listen to it or it's coming up soon, on attachment styles. And that is a term of art from my understanding of the mental health field. And it all goes back to kind of our attachment styles and the ways we attach to our primary caregivers at birth and what that means for us today. So you can be avoidant, you can be secure. Like, there are, I think, 4 or 5 of them. And most people are a combination of attachment styles.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mine is avoidant. And although I had obviously lots of love growing up, my primary caretakers looked very different because I was a child of teenage parents. And so to this day, what my child brain, if it's in control, tells me is that person is going to leave. That person is only here conditionally. And it's so interesting because obviously, like, the use of psychedelics has become very popular right now to unpack childhood trauma. And part of me is very interested in that because I wonder, what did I experience that makes me feel this way? Because today I look back and I remember being raised in a household full of love, church, family, extended family, neighbors. So many protective and promotive factors were in place, even if the nuclear family was not. Then why do I have this attachment style? Which, by the way, you can take a quiz online to figure out.
I support that.
So that's where I think my people pleasing tendency comes from. It is being afraid of this loss of love and affection. So having to make others happy to ensure that I always receive it. But the flip side of that is that even when I receive an outpouring of it, I still feel alone. Because of the attachment style. Yeah. So the trick of people pleasing, I think if folks are struggling with this at home, what you might recognize as well is that it's never enough. You will never be able to make enough people happy
to make yourself happy.
Hey, ha! I almost jumped out this chair.
It's true.
It's impossible.
Right. So we think like, we martyr ourselves enough. We do enough for all the people. And that is a beautiful instinct if it's for the right reason. If you're doing it just to make other people happy or for someone's perception of you, then you're not going to make anyone happy.
Girl, I had an aha moment about that this summer and just feeling like I had wore myself so thin being present for every highlight, every ceremony. We had a death in the middle of this. So grieving and still on the road and on planes and doing the thing with the people and the celebration and this and the speaking and the thing. And
I remember.
Right. And then I had a moment where something didn't go as planned. And I thought to myself, I can only blame myself for this, because I am affirmatively making decisions to martyr myself, to be seen as the person who's always there, who's always showing up, to receive the accolades and the congratulations for that as well. I can be self-aware enough to say that. While it has benefits for other people, it's not completely altruistic. I want to receive, gratitude and affirmation from it as well. And sometimes I need to just fucking say no. And had I said no in this instance, I wouldn't have been in that situation.
It's really interesting. The term like self-care isn't selfish, right? That's another thing that's thrown around. But I think actually many people do think it's selfish.
To perform acts of self-care? Yeah.
So like pleasing yourself. Like, how did we ever come to a place where we believe that taking care of yourself is selfish, where taking care of other people is not selfish?
And if you would just put yourself in that position, you would understand it so clearly. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And I'm not saying that you don't take care of and show up for people you love. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is it's really important to stop and evaluate why you're showing up in the ways that you're showing up to everything. And for what reason?
It's interesting because I think my reflection was a lot of training for that. I told you how my friend Joel, who often says things that I think are pretty profound, told me, he was like, Shy, you've been a matriarch in training your whole life. And sure, I don't have biological children, but caretaking, I was taught, was an incredibly important role. Like I would come home from college, and if I was kind of out running around and visiting my friends or doing whatever, I would get reprimanded for that. Like I would have, like, you're home, you spend time with your grandparents, you care for them, you see what they need, you run errands, you clean the house, you call the people that your grandmama needs, you call the doctor. I'm like 19, 20 years old. I just want to have fun. And looking back, I know that my male cousins never had that fucking expectation over them. I have been conditioned to be the caretaker. Now, I don't know how good I am at it, but
She's good.
That has been what I've been expected to be.
I think I could probably say the same thing.
Yeah.
But I also blame myself a little bit. Because like I think about me and my brother, right, who I'm very close to, who I adore. And I was saying, so he and my sister-in-law just had a baby, and I'm an auntie again, which is just like an incredible experience. And I don't think jealous is the right term, but watching them navigate postpartum life with my nephew and how well they care for each other and themselves. Like they don't really travel that much. They are quiet. They like limit how much they take the baby out. And when I tell you, when I had Ella, we were on the road from the second she was born, 3 weeks postpartum, flying to DC with her so I could meet Ruth Bader Ginsburg, with my fellowship class. We were on the road to visit my grandparents in Hartford, on the road to visit my parents on the Cape. We took her to a bat mitzvah in New Jersey. And I just was so and I had a lot of postpartum physical issues. Like I had like healing issues and I had a lot of trouble breastfeeding and I just remember, and she didn't sleep. And I was like, of course she didn't sleep. We were like on the road.
Her schedule. Yeah.
And I was so hard on myself and on Josh. And I don't know what again, it's not jealousy, but it's like this idea of like, why didn't I take care of myself better? Or why didn't anyone take care of me? Like, why didn't anyone say, like, what are you doing? Stay home. Let me hold the baby. Go to sleep. Or like, you shouldn't go to that family event in New Jersey. You shouldn't be on the road to visit your grandparents in Hartford. You shouldn't be going to the Cape. Like, all of these things that I just assumed I had to do.
Put a pin in that, because you just said that why do we think taking care of ourselves is selfish but not others? We have to model that in our lives.
Correct.
So your brother has modeled that.
No, exactly.
So that's why you all don't have unrealistic expectations over him. And we fail to model that. So then the expectation is like, of course Margo was going to be here.
Right. And the expectation isn't placed on him and Sam the way it was on me and Josh.
Yeah.
And even if it were, they are much better at creating their own boundaries, which I fully respect. But they don't even get the ask. I was at Max's graduation from high school with Ella when she was 7 days old.
7 days?
Diana tells a story about seeing me trying to nurse her. I mean, a newborn.
Yes.
And Max was 18. Or 17, I don't know, 18, I guess, and holding this little baby. And Diana, who's a friend of ours in the podcast, came up and was like, Max, you shouldn't be holding that baby.
Like, you ain't ready, sir.
And so she held Ella.
Yeah.
But it makes me sad that I don't know what the feeling is, because of course she was fine and she's healthy and like nothing bad happened and like we got through it. But that was a dark time for me.
I'm sorry for it.
No, I mean, it's my fault, but I think it's a good example of like a family experience where I have like a particularly negative experience of not caring and not being cared for. And my brother going through the same exact experience. And I'm not saying it was because of me. I think he's just better at it. Like putting in the scaffolding to take care of himself.
It's not lost on me that he's a man. So yes, back to conditioning. Yeah. I mean, I don't know Sam's family dynamic, but kudos to her as well for being able to put up.
Oh yeah. And her parents, like, they're living with them this summer and they have a big enough house. It's like a beautiful setup. But I don't know, like no one, it's like, where did we get the idea that showing up and caring for others and never expecting anyone to care for us?
Yes, period. Where does that come from? I think we have answers that are along the same wavelength, right? The patriarchy, sexism, misogynoir, etc. But another question for you. Do you think people pleasing attracts people who have like kind of a parasitic personality type? Folks who actually want us to go over and above for them.
Well, I feel like you're asking me a leading question because you don't like.
Your friends are great. Gowns. The girls wear beautiful gowns.
Yeah. I mean, I think energy attracts energy.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that I think having a people-pleasing personality type is not all negative, right? Because I think it makes us real empaths. I think it makes us have a high social EQ.
I appreciate this.
I think it makes us be able to sit in grief and fear in ways that other people can't and have hard conversations. And so I'm grateful for being able to show up for people in a way that not everyone can show up for them.
This is real because I think one of the things we have in common is that there will be a whole room buzzing around us. And I've seen you do this at Justice events. And you will be having a one-on-one conversation with one person, like holding their hand and staring deeply in their eyes, like, tell me the trauma that you have faced and how we can get you past it. And I'm like, you just met that bitch 5 minutes ago.
I'm good. I'm better one-on-one. I didn't think great.
But you feel it like
no, I feel
so
that. No, and I'm very sensitive. Like I'm a very sensitive person. Like I can feel the energy of a room. I can feel when people I know when you're annoyed or when we're like when people in the room are not happy like that. I have a hard time moving past that.
Yeah.
And just being like, well, whatever, like they're in a bad mood or it's just not all negative, right? Like I think that there's a part of it that is negative in that it's depleting and burns you out.
Yes.
And I think has made me, I don't know about you, uncomfortable in asking for help.
And I also think sets up unrealistic expectations that other people need to sit with. So the very people that we're going above and beyond to please, in some ways, it actually is harming them.
Totally. Because then we're setting up a false expectation.
I can see that especially with children.
What do you mean?
I mean, pleasing young people and never allowing them to hear the word no.
Oh, yeah.
Teaches very unrealistic expectations about how to navigate throughout the world. I mean, I think to some degree you aid in raising or rearing an adult toddler.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Yeah, just continuing to bend over backwards.
I think there's also an element of social buffering around raising children, right? When you just don't let anything negative in, or you're not actually honest with kids. I mean, to a level that's developmentally appropriate about what's going on or where they are in the world. And then they become adult children that don't know how to navigate the world, right? They're like, wait, I thought this was normal. And actually, no, and none of this is normal. Or
struggle with relationships, all of those things.
Right. How has it shown up for you in intimate relationships?
Ooh, I think a lot of ways. And this goes back to my question about what do you attract? Because I think while I understand that my abuse was not my fault, my abuse was my abuser's fault. Mm-hmm. What I do know is there were a united nation of red flags, to quote Risa Tisa, that I completely looked beyond or looked past from my people-pleasing tendency. And because you people please so often, let me speak for myself, because I people please so often, there is a voice of intuition that I dampen. And I think that made me prime and ripe for an abuser. Now, there have been other situations that for sure were not as toxic or tragic in my life, where I do think that same thing can be true. It could be a friendship. It could be a work relationship. It could be a casual boyfriend, girlfriend, whomever. There are times that I think there is an impulse to take advantage of that niceness, that people-pleasing tendency, for sure.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I've experienced something similar, but then also something a little bit different. In relationships that are really safe, I don't have that tendency.
Okay. Yes. Talk about this, please.
So I've wondered what's different. Not that I don't want to make people I really, really love or feel safe with feel good. That's not it. I do want them to feel loved and cared for. But I don't do it from a place of, oh my gosh, if I don't do this, they're not going to like me.
Mm-hmm. This is me.
Or they're going to be mad at me.
This is me. I won't say no to anybody all week long. And the first time I say no is with my partner.
Me too.
Right? And I think it's a couple things that play for us. Number one, we're fatigued. And so it's a safe place for us to say no. But I also think it's true what I believe it was Maya Angelou and James Baldwin were once in conversation about.
Always with the brilliance.
Which is, because I love you, you get the least of me. And it if anything has made me kind of shape up that part of who I am, it's that, right? She's taught me boundaries in all the ways, but the only time I assert it can't just be fucking with her. Like I have to leave space in my life to center my relationship when necessary and when I feel loved and affirmed, and shit just need to be held. And that can't happen if I'm constantly
On the
bending
road.
over backwards for other people. Like it can't, those two things cannot reside in the same place.
Mm-hmm. And it's not even necessarily like bending over backwards for other people. It's like not prioritizing that as the focus and something else.
I like that.
Right. So it might not be, I mean, I'm not speaking for you, but like it might, I'm just trying to like make it more general for people who are listening, right? It might not be like you're bending over backwards for someone, but then not for your lover or your partner or your kids. It could be that you're, traveling for work and never say no to work travel, but then your family wants to go on a weekend trip and you say no.
Yeah. 100%. So
right.
it is, my therapist actually did tell me that recently in a recent session. She was like, this is a season of your life where I really encourage you to write down your top priorities and to work towards those things, because every season is not the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And even like a season could be a number of years, or it could be literally a season.
Yeah, very true.
Right. It could be like, this fall I'm not traveling, or this fall I'm just focusing on X. How do you think your people-pleasing tendencies impacted how you interacted with people when you got sick?
Well, number one, I continued a lot of them. I mean, I've told the story on the podcast and probably in person before as well about how I delayed a work conference. Part of that is like toxic workplace environment. But
she delayed chemo for a work conference.
Yeah. Part of that is toxic workplace culture, but also because I was just accustomed to showing up and to saying yes, and really afraid of what would happen if I did not, because that would have been my first real time in my career saying no. And I remember talking to my mom about it, talking to my therapist about it, and I just wanted someone to give me permission to say no.
No one did.
And no one did. No,
I felt the same. I felt the same with my births.
Yeah, with going back so early after.
Just that fear that the job wasn't going to be there, or that I would be forgotten, or the work wouldn't be there anymore.
That has to be so hard for people who have children, and this like fear that the world and the office and the workplace will just move on. And we commit so much of our lives to our work.
Well, I think there's something, obviously, like if you are so lucky and want and have healthy children, it's different than illness, but there's a lot of similarities, right? I experienced like from like having a baby or from recovering from major surgery or an illness. And it's this thing that your life has totally taken a different route. Maybe it's temporarily, but like you're on the couch or you're in the hospital, and it feels like everyone else's life is going forward, right?
Moving.
And that pause is really important, but it is easy to feel left behind.
It's like those pictures, I don't know what they call this type of photography, where two people or a person is in the middle and there's this whirlwind of people happening around them. A time lapse, our producer says. It feels like a time lapse. Yeah, for sure.
Was it hard for you to ask for help when you were sick?
It was. Also because I mean, a couple of things. Number one, it wasn't until I got to probably radiation session 6 that I was like, oh, I'm really sick.
It's so funny. Again, just like as an example, it's as an example of like two people who lived in community with one another through the exact same time. I'm asking this question because I have the exact opposite experience of your illness. Like I felt like you were so amazing at asking for help. Like you had this community around you. You had people taking you to chemo and so again, like we don't know what we don't know.
I mean, no, it's not that I felt like I had a hard time asking for help. Is that I don't think I saw myself as sick. Like
you were sick.
Yeah, I know. I know, but I don't think I saw myself as that. I remember like the second chemo or so, I was crying because I was in a lot of pain. And and that hit hard. But after that, I think there's something about that kind of illness that can make you just push, because cancer, if it's caught early, thank God, what makes you feel sick is the treatment, not the cancer itself. And it takes time to obviously for the treatment to kind of take a hold of your body. But no, I am incredibly grateful for my village. And yeah, no, I had no problem with allowing people to provide me support. What about you?
You know, I know you were worried about that. I know people were worried like Margo's not going to let people can come and support me as much as they want. I love it. I actually loved it.
Good.
And I have such warm feelings of that time because people showed up and I got to see people in a way that felt not rushed.
Yeah.
Like my life didn't feel rushed.
It was a slower pace.
It was a slower pace. I mean, I've said this before. I wouldn't recommend someone having to get a double mastectomy to slow down and reevaluate your life, but
it'll do it.
But it's interesting because I think there's this maybe like unspoken belief that if you are a people pleaser and you are independent and like a doer, that you aren't going to be willing to accept help. And so people don't always offer it or show up in that way because it's like, oh, they've got it handled. Or
yeah.
And I think they're just, everyone's different.
And I also think it's, there can be, again, the opposite, right? So not just people won't show up, but we keep people pleasing and not caring for ourselves during that season as well. So I think that's the big lesson and motivation that I hope people take from today's episode. Number one, stop that shit. It's likely not serving you. Yes, we can be empathetic and all those positive elements of social capital that Margo has mentioned at the beginning of the episode. Those things are important, but I firmly believe we can have them without people pleasing.
And if you're doing things just to make other people happy, you need to evaluate if those people really love you for who you are.
Come on.
Or for what you do for them.
Hey, come on.
And so I asked the question earlier, like, are you the same in relationships that feel very safe? And I knew that the answer was going to be no, because in relationships that feel super safe, you know that if you have a bad day or you're off, like I still apologize. But like, you know, they're not going to leave or like ditch you.
So if you can't say no to those around you for fear of them leaving, then what does it say about the relationship is what you're saying? Absolutely. And I think we have to sit with those hard truths, but also face what you said earlier, which I know so many older people, women specifically like this, face that tendency towards martyrdom.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I had a friend once who I was like, you know, your mom just chooses to be self-sacrificial because she wants to then throw it back in people's faces. That's something beyond people pleasing, in my opinion. Like, you are choosing to go above and beyond because you know the people around you are not going to appreciate your sacrifice. So then you can then be angry about said sacrifice and no one actually asked you
to do it,
to make. And I think over years of us putting ourselves last, we start to develop these maladaptive behaviors, and that's one of them.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, right, what's the word? The like downstream impact of maladaptive behaviors, right? Of like being addicted to trauma, being addicted to sad news, only showing up, and like for people who are in active crisis, right? Like being interested and involved in everyone's crisis.
Munchausen's.
Well, that's one form, I guess. I don't know where that came from.
It was back to the pony play.
No, but there's this element that not everything has to be a crisis. And I think we live in a society where being like pedal to the metal and living crisis to crisis is what we've become accustomed to, but life doesn't have to be that way.
It doesn't have to be that way. It's our nervous systems. Like, we talk about our friend Alex here a lot on the podcast and in real life, but her life in real life, it's what you see online. It's slow, it's gentle, it's easeful, as Alex would say. That is how she shows up in the world day to day. No one's perfect, but I know I take from her that easiness that you just said. And she's not someone who I experience as struggling with people pleasing.
You know, it's interesting. I don't know. She like I take a lot of wisdom from what she says about it. But I actually imagine she has struggled with it, and that's why she's so knowledgeable about kind of ridding herself of those tendencies. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think particularly for female bodied people, but I think a lot of other people too. Like I think about children of immigrants, for example.
Oh, first gen.
Right. And like that like social familial expectation to make their parents proud and and help. That's real.
In a real way.
Right. And I think there's so many other kind of examples of it. So I don't think it's only female bodied people, but I do think kind of it shows up in terms of caretaking, maybe more.
In a very specific way. You all let us know down below. Are you currently a people pleaser? Have you ever faced people pleasing? How did you move past it? How are you moving past it? And most importantly, how are you pouring into yourselves?
Thanks so much for listening, viewing. Please like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, YouTube. We have a weekly Sunday drop Substack. It's how we produce this podcast. So thanks for all the support. See you next time.
See you guys.